Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's session. My name is Miran, and I am the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at 51 Labs. For those who might not know who 51 Labs is and what we do, we are a nonprofit startup incubator working with entrepreneurs to develop and grow their business ideas in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. We are so happy to have you all attending this series of sessions where we will discuss some basic skills everyone needs to start their career lives. And today in the first webinar, we will be discussing how to build an effective resume. This series is presented in collaboration with the amazing team of Kurdish professionals who were very fast and ready to get on board with this idea. Thank you very much. Before we start, I would like to share a couple of housekeeping points. First, we will be muting everyone for a better sound quality. And second, the session will be recorded and might be shared on our social media platforms later. At the end, we will have a 15-minute questions and answers section. So if you had a question during the session, you can write it in the chat box. Before I hand it off to our guest, I would like to have Dilman Yassin from Kurdish Professionals to introduce the organizations to us. Dilman.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Miran, and everyone at 51 Labs for collaborate on this effort. I think it's really important. This is such a great topic, and we hope to work further together with you guys on other projects. So Kurdish Professionals is a nonprofit that is based in Nashville, Tennessee. Our goal is really to help empower our community, specifically the youth, with career opportunities and education opportunities. A lot of it kind of started on social media, where we highlight a lot of Kurds from different parts of the world and what they're doing in their career and education at this point, and kind of what their goals are. Our hope is that the younger youth can look at that and say, hey, we have a huge selection of Kurds to look up to and say, well, if they did that, we can do that as well. So really setting great examples for our youth to strive and succeed. And again, thank you all for including us on this.
Thank you very much, Dilman. And thanks to Kurdish Professionals, of course, for collaborating with us. Now, we have an amazing guest and presenter to discuss and teach us about this topic. I'm personally very excited to hear more about resumes and later on the sessions. Chinar Barzani. Chinar, I don't want to take a lot of time, so I will let you introduce yourself and start with the topic right after. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, so I have been a recruiter for about 4 years now. I've recruited for a bunch of different roles, from IT to healthcare, and now to engineering. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about building an effective resume and ways that you guys can improve your resume when applying. As a recruiter, we do see a lot of different resumes out there, and I want to give you the skills and techniques to help you when you are applying to jobs. So just to start out, according to Business Insider, recruiters look at your resume for 6 seconds. And that is actually true. When I receive resumes, I look at it, skim through it, and if it has what I need, I will move them forward. So resumes are usually moved forward because a candidate is qualified, not because it looks flashy. So if a recruiter can't find an information he or she needs, it's usually rejected right away, which, as I just mentioned, is something that we do. So what can you do to have your resume stand out? Make sure your resume is formatted correctly, easy to read, and has no errors, which is very important. So the first slide, we're going to discuss formatting your resume correctly. You want to make sure it's 1 page. And as you grow your experience, it can get to 2 pages. The fonts that are primarily used are Arial, Times New Roman, kind of like writing a paper in school. And font sizes can usually be around 9, 12. Font color, it's mainly black. You can use another color for a header, but as you start, if you start changing up the colors, it can be very confusing, and it's just better to be simple and basic. Make sure you keep the font size, and font color the same throughout. You don't want to have one part like a 13 and another part a 20. It's very hard to read and it's very confusing. And another thing which we are going to discuss in the next few slides is the chronological format. The chronological format is where you have your name, your contact information on top, your photo, country dependent. So some countries do not require this. If you are in the US, I advise to not put any photos at all. And I know in some third world countries like Iraq, Kurdistan, Middle Eastern countries, they do require that. So that's fine. And then summary, very small summary, professional experience right under, education and certifications, and then any type of skills, hobbies, associations, or volunteer work are usually put in the bottom. So what I'm about to explain, it can vary depending what type of company you apply to, if it's an NGO, if it's an engineering company, but this is really a good basic format to start out with. So for new graduates, the only difference is the education is on top of the professional experience or any type of internship or co-ops. And pretty much the layout is very similar, just you switch it out. The only other difference is most new grads will have their internships, they'll have their co-ops, they'll have any type of volunteer work because they don't have that professional experience. So it's good to put all of that in there. Once you have more experience, you kind of don't need to add any type of internships or co-ops. And volunteer work can be added at the end with your skills and hobbies if it's related to the position that you apply to. So I am going to go to the next slide. What we're going to do is we're going to go over all of what I just mentioned is in a chronological format. So the first thing is the name and contact information. So this is a sample. This is usually on the top of a resume. You'll have your full name, and depending on the type of degree or certification, you can add it right next to your name. Like for example, if you have a PhD, if you have a certification, this one listed here is the SHRM, that's an HR certification. It can be added right next to your name. Do not add your, so the next thing would be, your city, your state, or province. You don't need a full home address. Nowadays, it's not required. And then you need your contact information, a phone number, an email address. Your LinkedIn profile can also be added on there. I don't know how many times I've had a resume where there was no phone number or no email address, and there was no way for me to contact them, even though they met the requirements. So you want to make sure you have that on your resume. And then the next one, we're going to talk about a photo. So like I mentioned, it really just depends on the country you're applying to. So as I mentioned, the US is not required. A lot of other countries also don't require them, but in the Middle East, you will see that a lot. I would advise to not use a selfie. I've seen that before as well. I do recruiting internationally, and I've seen that it's very unprofessional. So what you can do is some people have been hiring a photographer to take a headshot. And if you don't have that, that's fine. You can have a friend do a photo for you, a small photo shoot. Just make sure you have a neutral background, you have a professional attire, professional shirt, light makeup for ladies, and a clean facial hair for men. And pretty much, like I mentioned, it's a headshot, so you don't really need to have your full body, just from your head up. So next, we're going to talk about your summary. So this is something I also was not sure if I should add this, but nowadays not many people have been adding summaries, but it's still there and it's still something you can add. So a summary statement is pretty much what value you can bring to the company. It's very short. It can be 1 to 2 sentences. So I have some examples here. This is a senior robotics engineer who has exceptional problem solving and troubleshooting skills, and is seeking a position in which these skills can be utilized and enhanced. And the other summary is actually mine. I'm a certified human resource professional with 4 years of demonstrated experience managing all phases of full cycle recruiting, from initial sourcing, screening, offer negotiating, placement, and onboarding. So you really don't want this to be too long. You want to really focus on your experience. So if you don't know what to put there, you can also remove it. It's not mandatory. And sometimes, I'll be honest, as a recruiter, I skim through it. I really rarely read it. But like I mentioned, it's an option, so you can do that as well. And then next, we're gonna talk about professional experiences. So this is the important part. You want to make sure that you have the company name, your job title, your location, the location of the position, the time you started and ended. I don't know how many times I've seen resumes where they didn't put the date they started and the date that ended. And that's really important because we want to know how many years of experience you have. And if I have 100 resumes and one out of that 100 did not put their dates, I will reject them and move forward to the next person. Another thing is you want to list out your responsibilities and accomplishments in bullets. Do not put them in paragraphs. They're really hard to read. We're really just looking for keywords. So start each word, each bullet with a action verb. And you use correct tenses and consistent punctuation. So if there's periods throughout all of it, all of your bullet points, make sure there's periods throughout. If there is one period here, one period over there, one period somewhere else, it causes confusion. And it doesn't look professional, it doesn't look neat. And then also, which I love to give this advice, but make sure the skills you list match the requirements in the job description. So you have the same experience that's listed on the job description, make sure you use the same action verbs. So what also I forgot to add this part is about correct tenses and consistent punctuation. So your most recent position, you put design and select robotic systems like this example here. And then the old job, you want to make sure that it's in past tense, directed, performed, provided, and all that. So that also looks very clean and neat. And then I'll move forward to the next one, which is education certifications. So you want to highlight your highest completed education on the top of your list. If you've gotten your bachelor's degree and your master's degree in the same field, you can just keep your highest completed. If you have different degrees or different fields, you can include both of them. So make sure you have the school name, the location, the degree, and your graduation date. I used to recruit for new grads in one of my previous roles, and sometimes their education was listed and it was hard to understand, did they graduate, did they not graduate, because the position required that they graduate. So we would usually skip them just because it's an extra time. So we would move forward with the next person, especially when there's a lot of people who apply. So you want to make sure you have all that information out there and it's clear. For certifications, make sure you include the full title of the certification and don't add just abbreviations. So one example I have down here is the Society of Human Resource Management Certified Professional. So the abbreviation is SHRM-CP. Not everyone's going to know what a SHRM-CP is. So you want to make sure you have it listed out fully as what it is. And then when it expires. So we will move on to the next one, which is skills, hobbies, associations, or volunteer work. Actually, let me go back real quick. For professional experiences, if you are a new graduate, you can also add all that information with any internships, co-ops, and volunteer work. Because you don't have that professional experience, you still want to show them, hey, I did do some stuff while I was in school. So it's really important to add that as well. And then for these, the skills, hobbies, associations, or volunteer work, some skills that you can add is language skills and relevant technical skills. You don't want to talk about technical skills like gaming when you're applying for admin assistant. So that's something you definitely don't want to add on there, but you want it to be related. Hobbies, you also want to add relevant hobbies. A robotics engineer might create a robot or a drone. at home. And that's really nice to put on the resume, but we don't want to know that you play basketball on the weekends with your friends. It's very unprofessional. And it takes up your resume. You want it to be one page. So you want to add all relevant experiences. Associations, and that's also relevant associations. Like a robotics engineer might be interested in an international association of engineers. So you want to show that you are doing extra work and being a part of like groups that are related to your field. And this also goes to volunteer work. Relevant volunteer work can be tutoring high school students that are looking into becoming engineers. So that's really good to put that as well. And then the final slide, which is funny that we got through this very quickly. I put some resources here. Google Doc provides a few templates that you can use to fill out your resume, and Microsoft Word as well. And you can create it as, you can change it up a bit to work for you. Some people don't have any volunteer work. Some people don't have certain skills that need to be added. So you can delete them and play with the templates here and there. LinkedIn also, if you have a profile there, you can save a copy of your resume, your actual LinkedIn profile, and use that as a resume. And then the Muse is a really good resource as well. They are an online career platform with articles on resume tips. So I have linked that to help you guys as well. And then I think that's pretty much it. Miran, do you want to see what's going on from there and see if anyone has questions?
Thank you very much, Sinar. If everyone, if anything was not clear, if you had any questions, if you want to ask anything from your side, you guys can either write it in the chat box or ask to unmute yourself and ask your questions. Of course, Charlotte, do you want to unmute yourself or?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for the information you gave us. It was really helpful. I have a question though. This is something I have been struggling with since I have graduated this spring. My major or my degree is in business administration. Usually when job offers are posted, they specify a specific field. I don't know how to, make them understand through my resume that I have also studied accounting and human resources and marketing and management and economic. I have studied all those, but the title is business administration. So I don't know how to show that to them. So
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, of course. So I myself struggled with the same thing because I also graduated with a business management degree. And in the beginning, it's a little hard when you start applying. And just so you have a little background, it took me about a year, maybe a year and a half almost, to find a job after I graduated. So it is a little struggle. But what I would advise, so I'm going to go back and I'll show you. You guys see my screen, right? Oops, so there we go. So under education, you can put information as to classes that you've taken. So if they want to see that you focused on accounting, you can add the class name under there. And if there's a specific project that you did really well in that class, you can discuss that in there. For new grads, yeah, you definitely have to put that as to the type of projects and classes that you took that's related to the job post. So that's a good way of showing, hey, this is what I did. I did accounting because it was a part of my degree. And you can list them out under here. If you want, you can also put the graduation date on the right-hand side. I'm not sure if you guys can see the cursor, but you can put the graduation date after the bachelor's degree on the right-hand side. And then under that, you can put bullet points of courses you've taken. For example, at my university, I was the president of the Kurdish Student Organization. And so I listed that and what I did to help improve our group. So that is a way you can do it. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it did.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
No problem. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to me. I don't know if Miran wants to send out my contact information. We can do that as well.
I will be basically sending out a follow-up email
perfect.
later with the resources and that presentation, and I will include your email as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, definitely.
Hasib wants to ask as well. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, sure. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. I feel so happy to be in such a Zoom meeting. First of all, I hope that we have like sufficient time to quite prolong the discussion, which I'm pretty sure we have a lot of fresh graduate they can learn more. First of all, I'm experienced of working with international company and NGOs for the last 5 years. My last job is working with American development country in the post-war region, mainly focused on Iraq and Syria and other countries. I'm working as a procurement agent. I have been writing my resume for the last 5 years, and I have not been without job even for 1 day. So what I do, I go for the, let's say, Google, which a lot of videos made it. Now, I just would like to ask maybe this question is actually the principle of you went through the CV. I was just very, let's say, academic professional. My question is, actually, I have quite a lot of questions, but I will try to make them short.
Start with one and then go from there.
Sure. First of all, if someone has more than 5 years of experience with 9 companies, or let's say 4 companies, 5 companies with different sector, like, okay, the same in procurement, the same in HR, the same in grant or meal, and if they put all the job descriptions, the resume, the minimum will be 4 pages, 5 pages, 3 pages. Does this affect the HR to skip the resume, or because you said sometimes HR gives like 60 seconds to get the attention of the resume?
Yep, that is a very good question. Oh, are you still going? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll like give you my question is, and then you can just go on because I don't want to take much time. First, second, would it be a problem to put the past, let's say the present continuous tense in your past career or not? Because most of the work that I put, I was saying, for example, say procuring, like preparing RFQ, this stuff, like putting ing in the keyword of each job, let's say my responsibilities. Okay, this is my question, which I was just because you said you always need to put the past, and sometimes when they advertise the job, they put it in the present. And then if it's happened in the past, in the time, in the period of 1 year, would it be a problem to put present continuous? Third question is, will it be a problem to put education before work experience, or work experience, let's say professional background should come before education? And another question, does the CV template make,
I hope I answer all of them when I answer, sorry. So go ahead.
does the CV template make us the HR to skip the CV without going through like giving 60 seconds? And the last one, I'm sorry, I made it long because I had a lot. What can be considered as the most important part of CV? A CV with experience and the CV without experience. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So
I can put my questions in the chat so people
yeah, I was
can
just gonna
maybe
say, if you want,
so now
that would be awesome. Or maybe
I have written the questions down from my side. I can just remind you if you forgot.
I'll put in a second.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
I already kind of forgot, so that's perfect. That's perfect. That's awesome. So for the different, I think one of the questions was about education first or professional experience first. So I would recommend, if you just graduated, to put your education first. If you have some experience already and you've been in 2 different roles, then put your experience and then your education at the end, because experience goes higher than education at that point. If you mentioned that sometimes you have a bunch of different experiences and your page can get to 4 pages. I would recommend to format your resume as much as you can to make sure that you condense it without looking overbearing. One thing I like to say is when it gets so long, to be honest, we'll look at the first few experiences and not even go towards the end. It's just too long. I had one resume that was, I think, I'm not joking, 12 pages, and I just read the first few, just so I can get if he has the experience that I'm looking for. So you want to condense it as much as you can. Miran, what was the other questions, if you don't mind?
Another question was using present tense for past career experiences.
So I think he was comparing it to the job description, right? So the job description is going to talk about present tense, but in your resume, you should talk, if it's an old role, then you need to put it in past tense.
Another question was, does the template affect how the recruiter sees the resume?
Does it mean template or layout? I guess that's exactly.
I think what he means is basically the design side of the template. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
because some people put like they put it in a color, they put it in, I don't know, this calculation of 10%, 50%, I don't know.
No, it does not matter at all. That's exactly why I put, I think right up here, if it will let me go back up on the top, that it really does not matter if it looks cute. All it matters is that it has information that we're looking for. It doesn't need to look flashy. You don't need all these different colors. Sometimes when it's really flashy, we can't find the information we're looking for. And we really don't care if it looks very flashy, to be honest.
Another question was, what is the most important section of the CV or the resume?
Your experience,
With
if you have it.
and without experience. Yeah, thank you.
If you have the experience, that's the most important. Because if you look at job descriptions or job postings, usually the first few bullets will say you have to have 3 years of whatever experience. That's the first thing I look for on a resume right away.
I think he had one other question. I'm not sure if you answered this. If a person has a lot of experience in like maybe the same or different fields and like in different companies, and that will elongate the resume basically, would that be a problem when he or she is applying to another position futuristically?
Oh, so I think I mentioned it a little bit when I first started answering.
Yeah.
As long as you format it correctly, it's okay to have a lot of experience. Just don't make sure it's not more than 2 pages. And if it is, it's because you did have a lot of experience. That's okay. But try to format it where it's condensed a bit.
That's what I wrote down. So if you had any other questions, you may tell us.
I hope that answered.
No,
If you
thank you
have
so
anything
much.
specific, you can definitely reach out to me when Miran sends out my email information or my contact information.
Perfect. Another question. Huda Khan, I think, like, I don't know if you have seen other webinars from ours, from 51 Labs, but we will upload them to YouTube, and I will send the YouTube link later with the email that I will be sharing with everybody. Anybody has any other questions? Because I think Tara Khan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. From his questions, I just remembered something else. From an interview, the HR asked me, why do I have experience in so many different fields? It was not too many, but I know why that scared them off, or I don't really know why he asked that, but I had some experience in researching and some other social media specialists, some other in data collection. So depending on the job that you're applying for, you just put the job experience, the experiences that you have that's related to that field, or having the other ones is okay as well?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm happy you asked that. So I personally, for me as a recruiter, I prefer to see all your experience. I don't want to know that you just didn't do anything. But I know some recruiters can ask that. Maybe they just wanted to know why you did different things. And you can, if they do ask those kind of questions, you can express, hey, I just wanted to try different things. I love learning new skills, new techniques, and having more knowledge of different fields. But I personally, I would rather see you that you did something during those times than leaving it blank and keeping it like that. But I do, yeah, depending on the position, sometimes you do have to just put related. For example, I'll give myself as an example. I was a sales associate at a department store here in the US. And then now I have recruiting experience. So as I go and apply to positions, I'm going to remove my sales associate experience because really not related. And it was so long ago. That was probably maybe 6-7 years ago. And it's not related because I have that professional development and experience. So depending on the type of job, yes and no. I hope that answers.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that helped. Thank you.
No problem.
Another question is from Chinur. She says that her degree or her field is petroleum engineering, but she hadn't had the chance to work in her field before. But now she has the chance, and maybe there's an opening that she's applying to, but her job experiences are in NGOs and other sectors. Is it okay for her to mention her experiences in the resume or not? Yeah, because as she's saying in the question that they are not related to the position.
That's actually a perfect example of when you should, because you don't have any prior experience. So I do still want to see that you have done something previously. So this is a perfect example of when you should put it on your resume.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Okay. Ron Dick says that she has, I'm assuming it's a she, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. She says that I have a question. How can I know that CV is professional or can be accepted immediately?
Oh, that's a good question. So if you really follow these guidelines that I just showed, you can also show a friend. Maybe there's something that you missed. I mean, I sometimes miss things on my own resume and I have a friend look over it. And sometimes your friend can see something that you didn't see before. So there's things you can do like that. I know there can be some agencies you can reach out to that can review resumes, but I can also be a source for you. You can definitely send me an email and I can look over your resume if you want. But yeah, if you follow these guidelines that I showed and have a second person look over it, then you can, make sure everything is correct or good or professional.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? I think, yeah. Hasib asks another question. He says, does applying for an assistant position will affect your CV while you have been an officer or in officer or more positions? I think he had what he means is if you had higher positions and then work as an assistant, will that affect your resume?
It should not. It just shows that you were doing something and that was your circumstance. But Hasib, I would definitely love to help you more. So you can definitely reach out to me and I can help you with any specifics just on your resume.
Tara says that she has a question, and she is a manufacturing and industrial engineering student, and they have practical summer trainings. Can she write these summer trainings as work experiences?
Yes, for sure. I actually recruit for industrial engineers, and that is something I definitely look for. So yes, make sure you put that under your experience. Let me see if my slide will let me. So right here under new grad resumes, you can put your professional experience internship. So in the US, I think they call them co-ops. You can definitely add that onto your resume because it does show you did something while you were in school.
Perfect. Ayat says, should I include the certifications I have from training courses?
Yes, for sure. I myself have one. Let me see if it's listed on here. Oh no, it only shows one. Maybe I'll cut it off. But I did some type of training in one of my old jobs and they provided us a certification. So yes, for sure, add that.
Is there any other questions, any comments, points that we can talk about? Because I think so far that has been it. I don't think there's any more questions we can take.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everybody, for having me. This was nice.
Chinur, before we go, Ayat says that she is doing summer training right now. Should I add all the sections I worked at? So yeah. I think, yeah.
And then when you put the range, you can say all the sections you worked at, and then add the date you started, and then you can say present. So if you're applying to other jobs, you can show that. And then when you finish, make sure you put the date that you finished.
There is one question that I'm not so sure of. It says,
I'm not sure about that either.
do you support the ideas of the national strategy? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah.
Can you explain more, please?
It looks like it could be a bot or something. It's okay.
Yeah, so the username kind of looks like a bot.
Yeah.
So if no one has any more questions, I think for the first session, we can end it here. Thank you so much, Shinar, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Personally, I found the information very useful. I hope everybody found it useful. We will be sending out an email. Well, tomorrow will be the weekend, so maybe mid next week, we will be sending out an email including all the information, the presentation and emails we have talked about today. I hope we can get to see everyone attending in our next session, which will be, I think, October 15, if I'm not mistaken, on approaching your first job interview. So I hope we get to see everybody there. Thank you so much, Shinar. Thanks to Kurdish professionals for being such amazing partners. If you have anything else before we leave, Shinar.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you again for having me. I'll see you guys
Awesome.
at the next session.
Perfect. So see you soon, everybody. Thanks for being with us and have a nice day.
Have a good one. Bye.